Hello everyone and welcome to the New Hits, where I cover brand new top 40 entries, judging their quality and how much longevity I think they'll have. This week, just like last, it's going to be primarily Christmas reviews once again, but we do have one new single to cover at the end. Let's get the Christmas out of the way first though.
Out of all the reindeers, you know you're the master.
I mentioned last video that I'm not a huge fan of 50s music, but I can say I'd make an exception for the more rollicking, energetic style of rock and roll demonstrated here. Chuck puts his all into the vocals, sounding both unpolished and perfectly in tune, and the instrumentation, while it can get repetitive after a bit, even with the solo to break things up, it plays to my taste in terms of old school popular music quite well. This one's a gem, even if Chuck certainly has done better. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Great. So here's essentially the most modern, big hit Christmas song, and personally, I think that ends up being to its detriment. The biggest weakness here is by far the production, especially on the verses. This more current sound just doesn't sit right with me when placed among all the other Christmas rotation music, regardless of its quality, which I don't think is super high to begin with. I can say that starting with the bridge, things really pick up, with Ariana herself bringing her vocal game to the fore there, but the first 2 minutes or so just end up being a bit of a slog, so it isn't enough to say that. Giving this a 5 out of 10, okay.
There's no place like home.
Now, if you want to hear build-up done perfectly, where the parts beforehand are of quality as well, here you go. Of all the Christmas oldies, this is by far and away my favorite, serving up a pretty unique concept for a holiday song with some anecdotes sprinkled in, all delivered well by Como and especially his backup singers who joined the song midway through. The production is definitely the star of the show, full of pure fun the song demands, and with twists such as the sudden speed boost as the backup singers grow in prominence. I absolutely love this one, and I always look forward to hearing it as the holiday season rolls around. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Excellent.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
We covered the Michael Bublé version of this last week, and here's the classic version. While Bublé's version came off as overly sanitized, this one is full of 50s charm, which can only get you so far with a song like It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas. Not one of my favorites to begin with, but certainly puts it above Bublé's. Also welcome is Como's interplay with the Fontaine sisters, which does serve to prevent things getting monotonous. Still, the weakness of the original song is still present, so this has to settle for a 6 out of 10. Decent. Here's the other song from that Phil Spector album I mentioned last week, and while on Sleigh Ride I wasn't too huge on his wall of sound strategy, I think it works a lot better here, because Love's power and energy are able to match it. The sound overall is still a little clunky though, but considering the desperation the song is trying to showcase, the unpolished moments are on occasion welcome. Not one of my favorites of this, but still a welcome one. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Good. And with those out of the way, our non-Christmas entry.
I'm like, come and put that pussy on me, don't be running from me.
This week, we saw Lil Baby drop a pair of singles, his other one, Air Buddy, just barely missing the cut for this video. This is the more low-key of the two, and I'd say the worst by a pretty good amount. Lil Baby discusses over a fairly rote beat how he uses his wealth, investing it smartly while also using it to fund his lifestyle. This song isn't exactly bad, but it just falls into the trap I usually find Lil Baby songs do. They offer nothing to me that I can't get better from elsewhere. Lil Baby himself isn't an engaging performer on this cut, and his production and content aren't convincing me otherwise. I'm sure even he himself has done the same thing better before. Not super impressed by this, and it isn't even getting me hyped for this project of his that might be coming soon. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10, mediocre. For the record, I would have given Air Buddy a 7. It's a banger, albeit a standard one. Both of these songs will get pushed back a good bit by Christmas entries in the album bombs next week, and I'm not certain which of the two will stick more, but I think at least one of them will be a hit for 2021 if Lil Baby doesn't drop anything for a little bit. So, that's our week. An interesting selection that I can't say I'm as positive towards as last week's, but I still don't have much to complain about. Next week, we'll be quite busy, as we'll be seeing simultaneous big album bombs from Taylor Swift and Kid Cudi, with perhaps a Christmas song or two sneaking into the mix as they continue to rise. Until next time, see you on the next episode of The New Hits.